7 unique shots from Drake's first-person shooter, and I'm going to recreate them all. I set out to recreate 7 shots from Drake's first-person shooter music video with the help of visual effects and a small team of 4 persons. I'm not a Hollywood director, I don't have millions in the bank, and I don't have a full crew or top-tier gear, but I had one thing most people overlook: relentless obsession. Welcome to Project First Person Shooter. It started as a bold idea: recreate 7 unique shots from First Person Shooter, Drake and J. Cole's cinematic masterpiece, directed by one of my favorite music video directors, Gibson Hazard, using visual effects and whatever gear I could find at the office. After spending all my budget on green screen fabric, I was scared that I might quit before I even started. But then a solution hit me during my pre-production phase. Why don't I just build a full production blueprint on a spreadsheet, just like a producer would, so that I could divide each shot into various tasks and how they move down the VFX pipeline, right? Wrong. You will need a team of 1 director of photography, 1 VFX supervisor, and at least a team of 3 VFX artists, with everyone being skilled in at least 3 disciplines of the pipeline to perform these tasks. These tasks include storyboarding shot lists, green screen keying, rotoscoping, 3D tracking, 3D modeling, texturing, environment design, animation, effects simulation, lighting, rendering, and compositing. This is what we call the VFX pipeline. Every Hollywood movie where VFX is used goes through this same process. But before I take you through the process in details, meet the team. KJ, an accountant by profession, she was important in playing the role of the manager. Cheryl, an IT tech support and music artist, he was the camera B operator. I'm not sure he had ever shot with a camera before, but he had to learn on the job with a little guidance. Tayo is an amazing video editor and cinematographer who has also been improving his 3D skills on the side. He played J. Cole and had to learn the rap lines on the spot to sell the authenticity of the shot. Lastly, David. Well, we've met by now. I'm a handful. My job playing Drake was much easier, not until we got into the post-production phase. 4 passionate souls, which quickly became just me and Tayo at the start of post-production. And then after he played his part helping me out with some 3D models and rotoscoping the shots, I was left alone to finish the project. I had to transition between departments a lot. By day, I worked 9 to 5 as a cinematographer and video editor at the office. By night, I transformed into a one-man film studio. With my Sony A7 III and few lights, I used the gear I had, shot scene after scene, troubleshooting steps in real time. This is where I had to up my game as a director of photography. Lighting the angles were experimental, but I pushed through, capturing the energy, movement, and tension of the original video. When the time came to put on my VFX Supervisor hat, I did it with so much joy, pushing myself to the limits of what I could achieve. I already knew my limitations as a supervisor, which were: number 1, no chrome and gray ball for on-set light reference capturing, and no color card chart for capturing color reference. Number 2, no 360 camera to capture on-set HDRI, which was to be sent back to the lighting department. This meant that lighting in 3D was going to be extremely difficult to replicate what we had on set. My tools were Houdini, the hardest 3D software to learn known to man. I used Houdini for rigid body dynamics and smoke simulation to recreate the destruction of the chess piece, which was my favorite scene to recreate. Blender, which was my main tool, I used it for modeling, 3D tracking, lighting, rigging, texturing, animating, and rendering. After Effects for rotoscoping, 2D tracking, color grading, and compositing. Photoshop for fixing some textures. PureRef for gathering my short list references. Premiere Pro for the final editing. Beeble Switchlight AI for relighting, which I would explain more about later. F-Spy for camera matching. The magic happened here. My computer became my studio. Now let's break down the shots, shall we? The opening shot, where the camera pulls out of the manager's office into the office cubicle and then into the elevator door, is called a oneer or one shot. In filmmaking, this is the process of shooting an entire scene without any cuts to the camera. First off, my challenge with this shot was space. And yes, my shooting space isn't that big to contain this level of one-shot movement. Secondly, even if my space wasn't an issue, the props to populate the scene would probably cost a fortune. As for the camera passing through the manager's office door to the office cubicle and then into the elevator in a seamless transition, I knew this had to be done with CGI. The solution was to shoot half of the shot up till the camera fades through the door, then switch over to a full computer-generated shot in a seamless transition. Again, in filmmaking, this is what we call a digital stitch. This technique and other advanced methods were used in the making of the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 hallway shot.
We're going to be looking at one of the most insane wonders from Guardian of the Galaxy 3. Through the hole, man! Oh, wow. 18 shots, 16 stitches. Can you find them all?
Spoiler alert, this is not one shot.
I figured as much.
Yeah, it never is, right?
It's actually 18 shots.
18, okay. Man, that's more stitches than I've had. Is it? No.
To perform the camera pulling out of the office, which is called a dolly shot, we needed a track and dolly setup for smooth and precise movement, which was not part of my budget, so I had to improvise. First, we put our tripod stand in a chair and then pulled it backwards, but this failed excellently. Next, we placed our camera and tripod in a bucket with wheels, but the motion wasn't still precise. Then we placed a piece of fabric under the wheels and pulled it backward, and there we got our shot. We also had to set dress the manager's decks to look a little bit chaotic, but our props had so many issues, which I didn't take note of, not until the compositing phase. In the end, I knew we had to remove every prop digitally and leave only our subject, giving the rotoscoping department a lot of work. This meant that everything was going to be CGI except our subject. Praise God, I scaled through. After checking the shots, modeling and set dressing the whole office, texturing and lighting, I hit render and on to the next shot. Shot 2, 3 and 4 were not that difficult to recreate because they were close-up stationary shots. After keying out the green, rotoscoping was done on the subjects so that I could place a CG chess model between them. I modeled and textured the scene where the chess game was played in 3D. Most of the models, which I did not build myself, were gotten for free on Blender kits and Sketchfab. The scene was also used repeatedly in more than half of all the shots. Lighting the scene in 3D also had to match the lights used on set. During the making of this video, a very important AI tool was released, which I would love to recommend to every VFX artist. It's called Beeble Switchlight AI. It's a relighting AI tool which can extract PBR material textures like normals, roughness maps, and albedo of your subject. I imported my roto file into Beeble, generated a mesh model of the subject, then imported it into my 3D scene in Blender. I chose to use this as a shadow pass layer to further increase the realism of the shot. Shot 5 had a similar approach to shot 2, 3 and 4. Key out the green, roto the subjects, model, texture, animate and light the David vs. Style starts in 3D, then render. The final heavy lifting was done in compositing by bringing a stock footage of a UFC fight background into the scene, creating some motion graphics news text scroll below, and animating a zoom out shot of the subject. Shot 6 is something that looks like it took place in a cinema. This was just a camera zoom shot, so I started by matching the camera's position using a camera matching software called FSpy. Then I imported the file into Blender, blocked out the scene and finished up the lighting. Next step was to prepare the scenes that were to be played on the big screen. So I keyed out the green, layered the fight background behind the subject, modeled, animated and rendered a name display tag, and composited it into the shot before exporting the final comp sequence. Then I used this sequence on the large cinema screen as a screen texture before rendering out the final shot. Lastly, shot 7, which was my favorite because it was a full CG shot, which means everything was built in 3D, no live action plate photography. I started out by set dressing the chest pieces, then I used the same hand model which I built for my last product animation project, where I photographed my hand and stencil painted the images as textures on the hand model. I fixed the textures in Photoshop, then I rigged the hand, shot a reference video of me picking up a chest piece and smashing it into the other. This reference video was very important for animating the hand picking up the chest piece in order to get the timing and pace of the animation right. I started from a stepped interpolation before splining and polishing the animation. After the animation was done, I exported the scene out of Blender as an Alembic file, then imported it into Houdini for the simulation. In Houdini, I used the animated hand and chest piece as a collision geometry for my RBD bullet solver. Then I used the fractured pieces as temperature and density attributes to generate smoke in my pyro solver simulation. After finishing all the simulation, I exported the fracture as an Alembic file and cached the smoke simulation as a VDB, then imported them back into Blender where I did the final lighting and texturing. Then I rendered out my shots. When it got to the editing phase, one thing I picked up from Mr. Brad of Imagine That Films YouTube channel, who was the VFX editor of Stranger Things, is
now one thing you may notice is that the timeline is full of colors. There's colors all over the place. We're going to make sense exactly what these colors mean, but in professional editing, color assignment is essential for this kind of a workflow. It's an organizational tool. Remember, this is our database.
When working on a VFX heavy project, it's important to stay as organized as possible. Your editing timeline is not just a place for creative decision making. It actually becomes a database for meticulously tracking shots throughout the process. Since VFX was the last piece of the whole project, I had already edited my shots earlier, even before starting the visual effects work. I renamed my clips accordingly and used color codes for clips where VFX was to be added. This helped me organize my editing timeline properly. Every effect had to feel real, every frame had to match the rhythm of the original. And trust me, there were moments I nearly gave up. Originally, I wanted to remake 10 shots, but because I had already spent so much time on this project, I had to forgo 3. This wasn't just a project, it was a war zone of motivation versus fatigue. But here's the twist. That spreadsheet I started with, it wasn't just a plan, it became my lifeline. Tracking progress every night gave me momentum. Seeing tasks checked off gave me belief that I was getting closer. Eventually, the final shot rendered, the last composite finished, and for the first time, I watched it through. A dream made real with little or no budget, a small team, and just pure passion. This is Project First Person Shooter, a tribute to creativity, resourcefulness, and insane things we chase at 2 a.m. when the world is sleeping. If you've ever felt limited by your gear, your circumstances, or your exhaustion, don't quit. Push, create, build. You never know what you'll be capable of until you're the only one left standing. Subscribe for more behind the scene madness, or if you want me to maybe jump on a next project like this, remaking VFX heavy shots. Until the next one, guys. Peace.